Hi, the title of this activity is I know what an elevator speech is and I am comfortable giving one. The lesson objectives, or what you will learn in this lesson, is to recognize the components of an elevator speech, to understand the importance of presenting yourself in a positive professional manner, and to develop an elevator speech to share with potential employers. Elevator speech, what is that? It's a summary of your strengths, your work experiences, if you have any, or activities related to a job posting or job that you are interested in. It's called an elevator speech or an elevator pitch because it is meant to be a short speech, only 30 to 60 seconds, that quickly expresses your interest in pursuing a particular job or career. You never know when you may have the opportunity to share a bit about yourself to a potential employer. When would I use my elevator speech? At the place of business, if you're talking to, say, the owner, a manager, or even an employee of the business. At job fairs or other networking events, this is where people may be at, for example, a job fair, they're representing their company, and they may have job openings. So when you walk up to introduce yourself, you'd want to have an elevator speech ready to just kind of hopefully stand out from the rest of the crowd so that maybe you'll get an interview. Also during a phone call, when you're checking to see if a company has job openings or when they will be doing interviews. As part of your job interview, when asked to tell a bit about yourself. That's the hardest part of a job interview, is when they say, so tell me a little bit about yourself. Because most people often just sit there like, oh my goodness, what do I say? What do I say? What do I say? But if you have an elevator speech ready, then you're good to go. And yes, in an elevator, because you never know who you will meet and where you will meet them. Is it okay to have more than one elevator speech? Yes. For example, you may be looking for a job in a restaurant, in an office, in a shoe store. As long as you have skills or experiences with each of these different types of employment places, it's good to have different elevator speeches prepared. And for example, let's say you have an interest in gardening as a hobby, and you're looking to work at a restaurant. You may not necessarily want to talk about that hobby. It just depends on the situation, right? So just pay attention to that and develop your elevator speeches around the different types of places you would like to work. You'd want to present yourself in a positive and professional manner. So remember, you only have 30 to 60 seconds to introduce yourself to the potential employer. So you want to be positive. You want to talk in an upbeat tone, right? So you don't want to approach a person like, hi, my name is so-and-so, and I'm looking to see if you have a job, right? You don't want to sound like Eeyore, right? But you also don't want to sound like Tigger, because Tigger's a little bit too excited. So somewhere in the middle between the two. You want to be professional. You want to act as if you're in an actual interview, not talking to your buddies, right? So you want to act as if you're talking to a teacher or a grandparent, an uncle, your parents, whomever, somebody where you're a little bit more professional rather than, hey, what's up? You got a job for me? Right? That's just not appropriate. And again, finally, I don't know if I mentioned this yet, but you want to make sure you practice your elevator speech so that you're always ready to present yourself, right? So you want to sound, you don't want to have that, oh my goodness, deer in headlight type of response or reaction or approach, however you want to look at it. You want to just make sure you're ready to present yourself. And you want to sound rehearsed, but not over-rehearsed. And finally, you want to make sure to remember that you only have one chance to make a good first impression. So don't blow it. Make sure that you're ready to go, and you'll be fine. So, what types of things do I say in my elevator speech? So here's, a example of the types of things that can be included. And this was specifically written for somebody who, has never created an elevator speech before. So, as you move on in life and change your career interests and those sort of things, you can change this, right? Obviously, it's not anything that's set in stone per se, but well, here's an example. So, hi, my name is so-and-so, and make sure you do say both your first and last name. and you're a whatever grade you are in school, at whatever high school you're in, I'm sorry, in whatever city, if that's needed. Um, I am interested in whatever as a possible career path. So if you don't really know your career path, there is an activity that will help you figure that out. But let's just say, maybe food service or office management or business management, that sort of thing. Um, and then you would say the types of things you enjoy doing in your free time. So, your hobbies, your extracurricular activities, any school clubs you're a part of, school sports teams, those sort of things. And then you would just say, I've developed different types of skills as a result of those interests. And then if you have job experience, you say also I've worked at wherever and I've learned whatever to help sell yourself again in terms of you've learned different things, that like teamwork or responsibility or whatever it may be. And I think I'd be a good fit for your company and would love an opportunity to learn more about the job, to receive an interview, whatever it may be. That's how you want to close it out. Make sure that when you walk away, the person knows why you just spoke to them. What is it that this person, did they just come up to tell me who they are and that's it, or did they really want something from me? So finally here, remember to practice and be ready to provide your elevator speech. Be ready to tweak or change around what you say depending on the situation. And again, if you're already in an interview, you would want to say you would like to learn more about the job or company. Obviously, if you're already in an interview, you're not going to say, oh, and in closing, I'd like to have an interview. Right? That doesn't make any sense because you're already there in the interview. You want to match up your interests or hobbies as related to the specific job. Again, for example, talk about sports teams you're involved in if you have the chance to talk with someone at a sporting goods store, for example. So those are just some things to remember. And finally, here are a couple of examples of an elevator speech. The first one is a person who has work experience. So, hi, my name is Mariana Cole, and I'm a 10th grader at Jackson High School in Los Angeles. I'm interested in food service as a possible career path. I enjoy baking and being on the yearbook club in my free time. I've developed cooking and teamwork skills as a result of my interests. Also, I've worked at McDonald's as a cashier and learned the importance of customer service. I think I'd be a good fit for your company and would love an opportunity for an interview. So basically, Mariana, she stated her name, where she goes to school, what grade she's in. She mentioned her career path of food service. And she mentioned a couple of hobbies, basically baking and being on the yearbook club, and that those have turned into, obviously cooking skills from the baking, teamwork skills from being on the yearbook club. And she talked about where she's worked, what she did, the cashier at McDonald's, and she learned about customer service, and now she would like an interview at this particular company of whomever she's speaking to. And then the second one is a person who does not have work experience, but let's see what he has to say. He says, my name is Roberto Barrio. I'm a senior at Green High School in Reseda. I'm interested in working as a plumber as a possible career path. I enjoy working with my uncle on repairing old cars and being a member of the soccer team in my free time. I've developed a sense of responsibility and skills with understanding old car parts as a result of my interest. I think I'd be a good fit for your company and would love an opportunity to learn more about how to start working for your company now with the goal of one day promoting to a plumber. So it looks like maybe Roberto's talking to either an actual plumber, right? Or maybe somebody who owns a plumbing part type of store where they sell plumbing parts, or maybe somebody at Home Depot in the plumbing department or that sort of thing. But basically, again, his is a little bit different. He mentions his first and last name, that he's a senior in some high school in Reseda. And then he talks about actually a long-term career path, right, of a plumber down the road, right, a few years down the road. And that, he talks about working with his uncle on repairing old cars, and then also, being on the soccer team at school. So those have turned into working with the uncle. He's learned how to understand old car parts, which means you kind of know how to take things apart, how to put things back together, which is a skill you need as a plumber, right? And also being on a team, the sense of responsibility. And that he's basically saying he would like to hopefully learn more and start working now, and then at some point down the road, learning how to be a plumber and promoting to that type of a job. So two very different examples. These may or may not apply to you, but I just wanted to give a couple of different scenarios here. So next, well, first of all, this PowerPoint is finished, and I hope it was informative to you. And what you can do now is go back to the activity and start with the next step, which is actually the very next step is to watch a couple of videos of somebody presenting their elevator speech. One is a good example, one's a bad example, and I think it'll make a little bit more sense to you. And hopefully you've learned something, and when you write your elevator speech, you can return back to this PowerPoint to use the different things as information, and use the template, use the example, whatever you may need. Have a good one.